Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising. Welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am your host, Misty Rosegold, International Success Coach. Today I have with me Cindy Rayfield. We are going to have a great conversation about her business and a really fun event that she has coming up pretty soon. So, welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Misty.
Of course, I've been looking forward to this interview with you, and we're here.
Yay, finally we had to check our schedules and get them lined up, but we did it. So here we are.
Yeah, everything has a time, and I love that it happened when it was supposed to.
Right.
Mm, it's really good. So, would you please tell our audience what is it that you do?
Absolutely. I am, I go by a couple of different things. Some people call me a franchise consultant, some people call me a franchise broker. But really what I do is I help people uh, buy, sell, and grow their businesses. But I specialize in franchising. So I
Mhm.
help people find franchises, buy franchises, and then eventually sell them. So it's really fun for me because I'm a franchise owner myself. And I'm pretty passionate about the world of franchising, which is not just about food, which may be a topic that we can talk a little bit about. But,
Yeah.
everybody thinks it's Chick-fil-A or, McDonald's or something like that. So I do a lot of education and I help people decide if a franchise is right for them. And then we go through a process where I help them find the right fit for them and then eventually help them all the way through to actually investing in it. So it's fun for me. It's actually a really fun process. And I get to help people dream. And that's always fun to
Mm.
do. A lot of people don't dream often enough, but the fact that I get to help them through that is really a fun part of my business.
I love that. You're helping them dream. That's wonderful. And I love it when people come with a dream. But what does that look like in the franchise space? How does that dream become a reality?
Oh, that's a really good question. And usually that's a question that a lot of my clients, they don't know that they have that question, but that's an actual question. Um, Sometimes when people come to me, they're looking for something and they don't know. Maybe they've been laid off from a job. Maybe they're transitioning out of something. Maybe they have some money that somebody left them and they think that business ownership is going to be, the best course for them. Usually it's because they think that they can be their own boss and they don't have to listen to someone. They've got freedom. They have total flexibility. And that may be true. But as you and I both know,
Yeah, which is why I'm laughing.
there's a discipline that comes along with it. And sometimes people don't realize that until they're actually in it. So I
Right.
see people in the throes of their business and all of the things that go through their mind and the anxiety and what if this happens? What if this happens? And it's really easy to suddenly realize, oh, I have a business here. So a lot of it, it's sort of like having a baby, bringing home a brand new baby or bringing home a brand new puppy. It becomes a member of the family. So what I want people to do is really love that business like they love that new member of their family because it's going to be the topic of conversation. It's going to be
Mm,
at the dinner table with them. And I want people to love that. Well, what that sometimes means is it may be a dream to be a business owner, but sometimes people come with they feel like they're an entrepreneur without an idea. I help solve that. I help bridge that gap. So I'm going to find them something that fits what they most likely want as close as
mm,
possible, but then share the realities of it too. And
mm,
that may be something as mundane as house cleaning or mold remediation. And it's when I first present ideas like that to clients, they're a little bit taken back, like, well, I never wanted to clean up mold. And there's a lot of education that goes into it because sometimes the business model actually fits them, even though the service is just a mundane service. Because
Right.
franchising can be very mundane, even from eating a hamburger at McDonald's. That's very mundane. That's part of life. Everybody has to eat. So are you happy that you're making hamburgers for people? Well, as the owner, you're not in the back making hamburgers. You are providing a service that people want
Hmm.
and really learning and growing that business and helping your employees along the way and helping grow that business and nurture it. So sometimes it's as simple as house cleaning, um, damage restoration, pet care, children's education. So I give people ideas. I'm an
Right.
idea generator, I'm a seed planner. Whether or not it matches up with what they think, because people have grand ideas like, oh, I thought I'd have a little boutique and I would stand behind the counter and watch people just come and buy stuff. And that doesn't always make the money that you want, nor does it fit your lifestyle, because you don't want to be the one behind the counter.
Mm,
So I help people assess that. I suss that out for people to really know what it is they want and not just slap any old idea at them. And even if you think you know what you want, it doesn't always mean that it's going to fit. So I bring a sense of reality to people.
I
So
like that. So there's something that you said that I want to touch on. They want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't have an idea. That is a really hot topic for me because of the nature of my work as a success coach. It's not something that I think of because I'm already dealing with people that have activated their ideas, right?
hmm.
So this is a beautiful niche that you have that we've just identified, a niche within a niche. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
And people don't think of it that way, but
yeah.
that's the honest truth, because the people that have these startups that do these grand things and the moonshot and the very glamorous, sexy, once in a lifetime, the Teslas or whatever, whatever the SpaceX. I mean, those are once in a lifetime hits. That if it hits, it's amazing. But those are few and far between. But if you have an entrepreneurial bent, but you're thinking, yeah, but I don't know what I would do. I
Mm.
can come in with a whole bunch of ideas and they may surprise you. I love surprising people. I love people who, I call them wild cards. Like, I've got something for you that you're going to think is weird. And I started off that way, but here's why I like it for you. And then I can lay out why it fits them. And,
Mm.
I can come in and help put some reality around that.
I love it. You're making dreams come true in that space
I like
because
that.
I can see how so many people get stuck. Like I've recently interviewed somebody that was stuck in his world and he couldn't see the possibility. And it just took somebody like myself to say, no, you can do this, and here's how. And that's what you're doing for these entrepreneurs. They're like, I have this dream of being a business owner, but I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss. Well, talk to Cindy and she can fill in that gap for you instead of trying to break your brain to try to figure out
Right.
something to do. Entertain the possibility of a franchise where it's already been
Yeah.
tested. It's already been industry tested. It has the systems in place. It has a lot of the things in place that are some of the grueling steps for business owners that start from
Right.
scratch. So there are some upsides to having a franchise for sure.
There really is. And a lot of people may not think that way. If from somebody who has a job every day, they think maybe that a business owner or an entrepreneur has a calling and they have this brilliant idea and they're just destined to go out and make it happen. But in reality, there's so many people that they just don't have any idea what to do. And
Hmm.
it seems really strange when you say it out loud, like, I'm called to be a business owner, but I have no idea what to do. But there's so many people out there like that. So many people. Yeah,
That can
it's
that saves them time too. So like I'm the entrepreneur that started from scratch and built everything from scratch. Like that can take decades. That can take a long
it
time,
can.
depending on your industry. I'm in one of the toughest industries as a success coach, so it takes decades to build that type of empire. Now, with the benefit that I see with the franchise is that they come in, they have this dream, they're like, I want to be an entrepreneur, I don't know what to do. Okay, cool. Cindy has an idea. Ooh, that fits my lifestyle. can I wrap my mind around the actual business itself? Well, guess what? You already have the systems in place. You have everything in place to where you could potentially start making money right away. So that saves people a lot of time. When you're starting off
Yeah.
scratch with a brand new idea, it might be 5, 10 years before you start making money off of it.
Right. Right. And I've done that. I mean, I've done both.
Mhm.
And you don't always know when you're starting from scratch if it's even going to hit.
Right,
You don't have a track record. You don't have any market research.
right.
Sometimes you do. I mean, it depends on the industry that you go into, but sometimes you're just like, see if they like it. Let's slap it against the wall and see if they like
Yep.
it. There's a lot of trial and error in
A
that.
lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Lots of it. Yes. So I love that you're able to take that part of it out for people. And it's like we have to look at the reality of what is their financial space that they're working in. Are they leaving a corporate job and going into a business ownership through franchise? How much time can they afford to not make an income, right? So
Right. What's their burn? What does their
the
burn look like?
the franchise gives them that opportunity without having to look at 5 years without an income. You know, like
Right.
it's a
Right.
great
Yeah.
it's a great space for certain people to fit themselves into. And, if they're responsible for a family, if they're responsible for a mortgage
Yes.
and all the big responsibilities, then a franchise might be a really good fit instead of starting from scratch because starting from scratch is going to put a huge burden on the family. Yes, being a franchise
Hmm.
owner, you still have to work the business. You still have to make it successful. You still have to do the work.
Yes.
But being a franchise owner can put you 10 steps ahead of the game so that it's not as big of a burden on your family as starting from scratch is.
Right, right. And you have some experience in the franchise world, so we talk about
Mhm.
this. So you
Yeah.
you totally get that. People that are coming out of a corporate job or the military, I work with a lot of military officers that are they're at the end of their 20 years and they want to do something. They're too young to retire, but do they want to go work for a corporate job? They don't know.
Hmm.
It's very different from the military. So they don't always like it. They don't always fit. So coming into a franchise, as you know, can actually be a good fit for them. It's not for everybody. And
Hmm.
you and I have talked about that too. It is not for everybody. I have a really good friend that I sit on a panel with at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. He is a true entrepreneur. He would never fit in a franchise mold. He and I
Yeah.
talk about this all the
Yeah.
time. And he's a startup guy. And he's got ideas and he starts them up and he launches them and he sells them. That is just his calling. And not everybody
Mhm.
has that.
That's
But
true.
that's what everybody thinks a business owner is. They don't
No,
think about franchising as a business owner.
there are few people in the entrepreneur space that actually have that calling to have the idea, have the startup, produce it within like 5 to 8 years, sell it, and then go do it again. So this is their business
Yeah.
plan. These people, I'm like, wow,
It's a
amazing.
skill.
It's an incredible calling skill and a gift that some people are just born with, where that's their
Right.
retirement plan is to build like 4 to 6 businesses and sell them
Yeah.
throughout their lifetime. They're like, cool, 5 years done. Let's go to the next one. Like it's just
Next.
it's awesome. But not a lot of people have that gift. So I am speaking today to those people who have that dream of freedom from the corporate industry, or maybe they're leaving the military, speaking to them in that space that says, hey, you have this dream. Now, a franchise is probably a really good option for you because you probably have a family to take care of. So let's not put that burden on the family of starting from scratch. And you have the potential to start making some money much quicker in a franchise model. So
Right.
please, please, please think about these things. Like a lot of people just don't know what to think about when they're approaching starting a business or stepping into a franchise or stepping away from something they've done for the last 20 years. So I want to get people to think like, can I really see myself in this and how is it beneficial for me to go this route? So there's one thing that we need to talk about that is really important because part of this dream is not just the dream of being a business owner, not just the dream of freedom. That freedom comes at a major cost of self-discipline, by the way.
Yes.
Uh, but they also have financial dreams. So, what has been your experience with people that take the leap into a franchise and you get to see them through this process, what financial dreams are they realizing?
You know, it's so interesting because you see people in different capacities being able to do different things. So, for instance, I have a client who bought 12 vending machines, of all things. People don't think about vending machines. It's a franchise, but it's not a franchise. But people don't necessarily associate vending machines with like a six-figure income.
Mm-hmm.
And the discipline that it takes to run a vending machine route on your own, like he runs it on his own with, I think, maybe one employee, which is a family member. But he's realized a dream. Now, freedom is there, freedom to go fill the machines on his own time. Nonetheless, he has to be there to fill them in order to fulfill his financial dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's not there filling the machines, people can't buy and he can't reap the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of go hand in hand, but this is true for any business and any franchise that you start. You have to be there to actually do the business to realize your dreams. And the hardest part is getting it off the ground. So you can sign the franchise agreement, you can pay your fee, you can have everything ready to go. But the hardest part is I own hair salons. One of the hardest parts for me was to the build out, the
Mm-hmm.
hiring, getting the doors open, but then starting to see things trickle. And it does trickle at first. It's not like you're making money on day one, and you have to be able to understand that and be okay
Right.
with that and have the liquid capital there to be able to get you through.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing the trickle and then the growth, and then if I do this, this can happen. If I hire more hairstylists, this can happen. If I have more vending machines running, this can happen. If we have more people coming in for lunch or we do more catering events, this can happen. So I've seen some of my clients that have restaurants. I don't do a lot of food, but occasionally I have clients that are called to food. So they have a food setup, like a cafe or something like that. Um, I had a client call me one time after he opened his he had an Asian food, Asian restaurant. It's pretty well known, maybe more well known in Colorado than other places. But he called me about 2 months after his grand opening, and the grand opening was great, and business was great, and we're top 10 and doing great. And then month two or month three started to hit, and he's like, wow, things really dropped off. And he called me and he said, what am I
Mm-hmm.
doing wrong? And I'm like, well, first of all, you have to talk to the franchisor, but you're not doing anything wrong. Sometimes the brand new thing
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden tapers off and it becomes
That's
real,
very common.
very common. And people think they're doing something wrong, like, oh my gosh, it's always going to be like this. I'm going to burn through my money and all the worst things that can happen. And in reality, it's a base for you to build from.
Right.
Opening was strong. That's fantastic. Put that in the bank. Now do things like, okay, what's the next step? In his case, they hadn't even explored the catering, which is really part of the model. The daytime
Mm-hmm.
catering, going to the offices and saying, hey, we do parties, we do office events. Here's our menu. What can I get you started with? And like really, sometimes you have to hit the ground running or hire somebody to do that for you. So, I mean, I just gave him the idea. Maybe it's time to explore the catering side. And he just went, oh gosh, I hadn't even launched that yet. So
Mm-hmm.
that, and listen, I'm not the one to give advice in that. I always tell people you need to go back and talk with your franchisor,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes having people step back and go, oh, I haven't even implemented the whole thing yet. And I'm only in like, month 4, month 5. So, but it is very common for people to kind of freak out in the beginning,
It
but it's
is.
so easy. You have to learn to ride the wave. And I call it financial hang time and emotional hang time. Having enough hang time financially and having enough hang time emotionally, because it can play with your emotions a little bit, but anything worth going after has the capability to play with your emotions. So,
Uh, Being a business owner is the most transformative process or journey that anyone
yes.
will ever go through. So the emotions that we deal with on a daily basis are just insane sometimes, but it's part
Yeah.
of the process.
It is.
If you
It makes
don't,
me grow. I mean,
yes.
some of my best professional growth is because I have responsibilities and you have to wake up every day and go, I gotta make payroll, I gotta pay rent. It forces me to be a responsible adult.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. So I'm going to say something that might upset some people, but that's okay. I'm not here to make everyone comfortable. If you do not want to grow as an individual, do not be a business owner.
It's so true.
Just don't,
Don't do it.
because you have to. You have no choice.
Yeah. Sometimes you become a totally different person.
You do.
Um, when you have to work with employees, and it's one thing being a manager in a corporate environment, but until you have people that actually work for you and you have to make a payroll,
Hmm.
I mean, that's talk about growth.
Mm,
That's growth. And you have to learn to help your employees because they have their own issues. It's like having children
right,
sometimes. Not
right.
that my employees are like children, but they have their own things that they go through. And sometimes I have to listen and be and help them through their own things. I've had a lot of employees that have burdens and
Mm.
I can't fix it for them, but I know they need a job. So, you try really hard to help them through that too, as much as you can, without getting
Yeah,
too much into their lives.
right,
That's another balance that you have to bring.
right. Yeah, that can definitely go on the toxic side of things, but
Yeah,
it's part of good leadership. It's part of creating a good culture. And, that's different for each business. And what does that look like? But there's something that I'm thinking about with you is when you started making a profit from one of your businesses, how did it feel? So I want the audience to hear this because there's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of, oh my God, what's happening? Like this was great and now it sucks. And then it's great and then it sucks. And then they're like, is this roller coaster ever gonna calm down? Is it ever
yeah,
gonna level out? Am I ever gonna see what it is that I'm trying to achieve here financially? So explain that feeling to them so that they can feel it, they can actually hear it, they can like see the carrot that they're chasing.
yeah.
What does it feel like
Well,
to become profitable?
you know what it brings? A lot of confidence. I think confidence is one of the big things that are brought for me. Like all of a sudden, it's like I did this, and you can kind of step back and go, "Wow, I learned so much. I can actually give advice now." And that's really empowering. There's a lot of empowerment that goes with it. But I will say this too, making that profit was fantastic. Getting to that point where you're like, God, that was really great. But it doesn't last.
It
I
doesn't. That
it
moment,
doesn't.
it lingers for a little bit, but then it's gone.
And then it's gone because you're on
Mhm.
to the next thing. And it's
Right,
like, now we have to replicate that.
right.
How do we replicate? How do we go to the next step? So I think that building the confidence is a great foundation for when you start seeing profit. But then beyond that, then you have to grow it because then you start having to ask yourself, like, okay, so all right, now I'm profitable. What if I wanted to sell this? Because I did this. Like,
Hmm.
what if I wanted to sell this? Well, that's a whole different topic.
Yes, it
That
is.
becomes that's a new me. That's a new challenge that I have to go through. So it means 3 years of continuing what I've done. And if somebody came up to me tomorrow and said, I'll write you a check for $1 million for my business, but you got to give me your books and you got to show me all the things, would
Hmm.
I be able to do that? I have
Right.
to get to that point where if somebody wanted to write me a check tomorrow for $1 million or whatever, I want to be able to say, absolutely. I'll
Hmm.
take your money and now I'll give you this business and I'll show you all the things and I can support it. Um, yeah, that's a totally different animal. And so every time you reach a certain level, it's fleeting. It's always like, and this is what I tell people sometimes. Everybody wants to be happy. But I do think happiness is fleeting. It's like it's not always working towards being happy
Mm-mm.
because once you get there, you don't stay there.
Yeah,
Same with the business.
I don't
Yeah,
ever, ever, ever advise people chasing happiness. Now, joy, that's sustainable.
right. You can be joyful in your situation and grateful. But I
Hmm.
think, everybody's like, I just want to be happy. And I want my business, I did this because I wanted to be happy. I don't think starting a business just to be happy is a good move.
No, that is not the right reason because there are days where you're going to cry your eyes out. There are days where you're going to be
Yeah,
like, what the F am I doing?
yeah,
But you
Right.
can be joyful every single day.
Yes. And you can be grateful for the things that you said that you wanted, like freedom. Being the boss means sometimes, like, at least in my case, I don't have to be there for every second. If I want to go to my daughter's event, I can do that. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. Um, but it gives you an opportunity to have some freedom.
Mhm.
Actually, it gives you the opportunity to have flexibility. And that's what people really want. Do they want freedom? Freedom means you never have to work again or whatever. That's not what this is.
Right.
Flexibility is is a better definition for what people actually want when they start a business.
Yes. Flexibility is great. I love that. So don't chase happiness, especially if you're trying to be a business owner, because that's not, no, no, no. That does not happen in our space. Yes, we can
Yeah.
be, I'm deeply fulfilled. I love what I do. I'm very fulfilled by it. I am joyful pretty much every single day, but that's because I practice gratitude. It's because of my perception of life and business and how I choose to show up. So that's very, very, very important. But if you guys are chasing happiness through a business, just don't. Just just don't. If your destination syndrome is like how you live your life, it's not going to work because when you hit those financial milestones, it's like, oh my God, cool, that's awesome. I hit it. And then in like the next day, you're like, okay, what's next?
Right. I got to do the next thing. It doesn't last. It's not
It doesn't.
sustaining. Feels great in the moment, and then you have to be on to the next thing.
It does. Now, what that does do is that it gives you more peace of mind. The less you're in hustle mode, like you're still growing the business, you're still outreaching to clients, you're still
Right.
whatever it is that you need to do in your business to make it grow consistently over time, you're still doing those things. When you get to that place where you're no longer financially struggling, it does bring a sense of peace.
Yes.
Now, if you're trusting in the money itself, yeah, that's probably the wrong approach. But it's nice to know, like, okay, cool, I can breathe a little bit, but you're still doing it. You're still doing the work every day. You're still going through the motions every single day. That is, I think, the sweet spot is being able to say, you know what, I'm going to get to a place where I'm not worried about how I'm going to pay the bills each month.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
There's money in the bank. There's money in savings. This is great. This is awesome. Well, what do we do with that energy? We need to channel it into the growth of the business.
Yes. Yes. Because when you own a business, and this goes for any business, not just franchising, there's two ways for a business to pay you. One is income and profit on it, just from providing the services. But the other way is through equity and growth in the business itself, sort of like a house. And people don't think about this. They just think, oh, what's it going to pay me in 6 months? What am I going to be making? But it's the growth on the backside.
Mhm.
And real estate does that, and business ownership does that. So that's what I was talking about when you start saying, if somebody wanted to write me a check today for $1 million, I want to be able, I wake up every day like I want to sell this business I mean, this is as a franchise owner. And a lot of my clients, this is kind of advice that I give. Wake up every day like you're going to sell it. So what do you have to do to get there?
Mhm.
You have to do every day so that could support that $1 million check that might drop in your lap. Grow it, and that will pay you on the back end. So a lot of people use that for retirement on the back end. The
Mhm.
income is one thing. Income through retirement, through your retirement and cash flow. I preach that to a lot of my clients. So a lot of my clients will own a business after they retire from their job. They can have this business, but then being able to sell it on the end for multiples of cash flow
Mhm.
is another way to reap the rewards of that. And you don't get that from a job. You can't sell your job. You just retire from your job. You
Some
sell.
people wish they could.
I know. I remember those days. There were days when I wish I could when I was working there.
Can I sell my job, please? That was a great
Yeah.
concept.
It's too bad it doesn't earn equity like, something like a regular asset. It doesn't do that.
Oh gosh, yes. Oh my God, that's so funny. So you talked on exiting, which is great, and that's part of people realizing their financial dreams. So it's not just the dream of being a business owner, but if you think about it the right way and you have the right strategy, you can turn that exit into your retirement. So,
A sellable asset.
yes, and this is something that I like to present to my clients. If you were an investor, would you buy your business? And
Yes, that's so good. That's a great question.
all the answers to why not is what you need to work on.
Yeah, it gives you your roadmap, right?
And
That's your roadmap.
then the parts where you're like, I would buy it because this is working well. Okay, go do more of that, right? So it does, it gives you that roadmap because you're looking at it from the lens of the investor, not the emotional business owner.
Hmm. It does. It makes you look at it from a different point of view.
Hmm.
And it's funny because for the businesses that I own, I told my manager one time that if I was to sell my business tomorrow, I mean, I wake up every day trying to, make these businesses better so that if I wanted to sell it tomorrow, I could. And she turned to me and she said, "Are you selling the business?" I said, "No, no, no, no. We just do that because we want to prep
Hmm.
for the future."
Right.
But it's a great way to think about it because it makes you think about things in a different way. It takes you out of your day to day.
Hmm.
Oh, what's going to happen if then you have to start thinking in a different path, down a different path.
Hmm. Definitely. So even if somebody doesn't plan on selling their business and they want to pass it on to a child, let's say, I still want them to set it up as though they're going to exit
Right. Right. Yeah,
because it's
I think
just,
that's wise.
it works better and you don't know what's coming in the future. So if there's a major life event that happens and you have to sell the business when you're not planning on it, okay, cool, because it's already set up.
It's ready to go.
It's done.
Yeah.
It works. So, Cindy, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And you guys, she has an event coming up very soon, and I'm excited for her to tell us all about the event.
Well, I don't have a date set, but it is going to be in July. So I'll have a firm date coming very shortly. But this is going to be a fabulous business summit. I'm calling it a virtual business summit where it's bringing pieces of the puzzle in for people who might want to own a business. So Misty, we're going to have a session on Misty and mindset because that's a huge part of it. I've got commercial real estate person. I've got a credit expert coming on board to actually do this. I've got some other people who are in the franchise space who are going to come in and talk about franchising and exiting the business.
Mhm.
So I've got a lot of people lined up to actually be part of this business summit. And when people sign up for it, they get the advantage of being able to listen to all of those. They're going to be 30-minute sessions, strategy sessions on what to do if you want to be a business owner. What are the puzzle pieces? How are we going to pull that all together? And things to think about that nobody's going to tell you unless you really start going down the path of looking at business ownership. So this is a great way to kickstart that if you've thought about owning a business. Or if you're an entrepreneur without an idea, this is going to be a great session for you to sit in on and learn about some possibilities and other people's stories and what got them where they were. Because I think education is a huge part of this. I think
Mhm.
learning from those who have been in the space or people who have contributed to others in this space is very valuable. So when I
Yes.
have that date, I'll make sure we'll be spreading the word and getting it out to people like Misty who can share that information with her clients as well and or people that she knows. So we're excited about that.
Well, I'm excited for this event. It's going to be a great virtual event for people to tap into, even seasoned entrepreneurs and business owners,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we're always learning, and people that are starting off can teach us some things. It's an ever evolving process of
Right.
educating ourselves and learning and growing. And so it's not limited to somebody who's new to the space, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, a lot of people that I anticipate attending may have been business owners and have had successful exits, or they're looking for something different, or again, they're in a new space of, well, I don't know what to do next. But they have some experience in it, but this will give them maybe a new reflection, something new to think about.
Mm. That's wonderful. So for people that want to find out more about your event, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach out to me at Cindy at the Synergy Group. So that's Synergy with a C, TheCinergy group.com. You can also go on my website, thesynergygroup.com. It's got some information out there. I'll have a page devoted to that virtual event coming up very shortly. Once we're ready to launch and really get the word out about the date and the times, I'll have a page devoted to that as well.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I've loved this conversation with you, and I am grateful to be a part of your event as well.
Thank you, Misty. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for
Yes,
having me on.
and I'm sure our listeners will love partaking in your event.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Cindy. And you all, thank you for listening. And until next time, we will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.